we started talking about Scheffler's Masters dinner menu. Holy cow, is he one of us, man? Have you seen the menu?
You don't need to go out and shoot 67 or 68 on Thursdays. Go out and shoot 70, 71.
Cam Smith, and this goes along with Dustin Johnson on Live 2. Those two guys look like they lost motivation by getting those big paychecks.
I want to apologize, Bear, to all your audience that had Duke futures. It's my fault that they blew that lead. It's my fault that they're up 6, 57 to go, and the ball. My fault, my bad.
What's going on, everyone? I hope you have all recovered from Monday evening's scintillating, exciting, dramatic. I think dramatic is probably the best word. I wouldn't call it a great game. I wouldn't maybe even call it exciting, but it was certainly dramatic. Where Florida emerged with the 65-63 win over Houston, who turned the ball over on the final 4 possessions. And don't worry about me. I'm not bitter or anything about holding a Houston 18-1 future that went up in smoke. So we'll get over it. I'm sure we might talk a little bit more about the end of the game in the gambling group chat when Will Hill and Sammy P join us in a little bit. But the sports calendar never sleeps. It is one of the best times of the year, and here to help us break down and preview and bet and hopefully make some money on the Masters coming up this weekend at Augusta is Jeff Sherman from the Superbook, Golf Odds on Twitter. Follow him. He's always got some great takes and some great plays and some great advice. And I guess, Jeff, we may as well just start off right at the top where we got Scottie going for a repeat. Be 3 in 5 years, 2 in however you want to put the math together, but hasn't won this year. Came close a couple of weeks ago. Has a couple of top 3 finishes. Doesn't really appear to be any lingering effects from his hand injury that he had in the offseason. You guys hung him as the plus 450 favorite. Is he a guy who you've A, seen a lot of play on, and B, is he a guy that you guys mind seeing win if he does win?
Well, he's number 1 in money wagered, not quite in ticket counts, but the larger wagers have come in on him, notably at 9-2. I've been fluctuating between 9-2 and 5-1, and it would take more for me to get involved with him myself. You know, you mentioned about how he's got some solid finishes and the hand injury. Well, I think that month off he had delayed him getting into the form that we expected to see from last year. And so we haven't quite seen that type of Scottie yet. That's not to say that won't happen this week, but just from what I've seen myself, it gets my attention turned to other golfers. But the public is definitely supporting him as one of the top guys, and notably in the money wagered.
The guy that was runner-up to Scottie Scheffler last year, Ludwig Oberg, is a guy who it seems like everybody is high on and in picking, but his form is now, he played well out, a good finish out west, but missed the cut the last couple of times through, and you got some pretty good numbers too on his short game struggles.
Yeah, he's been struggling with his short game, and because of that, I've eased him out to 20-1 now, and he was sitting 12 to 14-1 for the last few months, and right now he's number 2 in ticket count behind Rory. So we see support on him every week. He is the popular golfer going right now, but just with the struggles that he's going through, and short game's so important here at Augusta, so you can position yourself on the greens in the proper spots. I think that's going to be a tough go for him this week. Hence, we've hit 20-1 on him, and we'll see. I think we'll see some support at 20 over the next couple of days.
And he is in the late starting time on Thursday, early starting time on Friday, which was basically what I was trying to say before, that it looks like the chance of rain or weather is early on Friday. So potentially guys that are stuck going out late on Thursday, early on Friday could get a little bit of rain and wind early in the morning. So maybe it could be a situation where the late starting times, early Thursday, late on Friday, in notables in that group include Collin Morikawa, Scottie Scheffler, Justin Thomas, are probably Will Zalatoris are the bigger names that kind of got on that end of the draw. You mentioned Rory, and at this point, I know he's in great form. He's kind of hinted at a little bit of an elbow injury. I don't know what to make of that. He is always just on my do not bet to win list here. It almost seems like, and maybe he's finally reached a point mentally where he's kind of gotten over it, but it feels like he's almost like lost the tournament when he gets to it. It feels like he's put so much pressure on himself to kind of finish off this career Grand Slam, which he is now trying to do, I think, for the 11th time now in his career. He's just a guy that I can't bet him to win this event. Can you?
Not at his current price, and I understand the current price in the 7-1 range, because winning at Pebble and winning the Players Championship are pretty good tournaments to lead into this. So it feels like it's his best opportunity form-wise going into Augusta right now, and it might be his best that we see the remainder of his career at this point. But I can't get behind him at 7-1. I would at least need double digits because of, like you said, how he falters and what we saw last year in the majors about his putting issues, and if those arise again.
Yeah, and if you look at Rory too here, the last 6 years, he's missed the cut twice, and the 4 times he's made the cut, he's been outside the top 20 entering the weekend. So it's been a while since he really is seriously contended on the weekend and been in contention after 36 holes. Do you guys have I'm curious your take on this. Do you have a prop up there on will a live golfer win? Yes or no? And if you do, and if you don't, do you see any of these guys being a threat? Because personally, I think Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau both have really good chances this weekend to win.
Yeah, I have that prop up. I actually opened it yes plus 250 and no minus $3, but have taken respected money on the no side, and I'm all the way up to no minus 420, yes plus 350. So it's moved $1 higher if you want to support the live golfers to win at plus 350 right now. But I'm like you. I look through the list right now, and Rahm, DeChambeau, Joaquin Niemann, he's a guy that I'm on this week. I played him early before he had won twice on live this year, 65-1. He's 30-1 range, but he's quality enough that he can knock on the door. We know what Koepka can do in majors. They've got some guys, and it's laughing for me to say this, but Mickelson's playing his best golf right now that we've seen since he joined live. And he's at a respected 100 to 125-1 because of his Augusta form. But there's a slew of live golfers. Even Charles Schwartzel, he's playing great right now, and his odds have been cut in half from 600 down to 250 at our shop.
Maybe glory days right here, going back to 2012, right? Schwartzel 2012 or 11, I forget. What year it won? He was the winner of the last Masters that I did not work before I had left. That's always like the mindless, meaningless trivia question of Adam Scott was the first Masters that I worked. So that's how I kind of set the calendar. Another guy seemingly getting a lot of support this week is Collin Morikawa. He's played the course very well. People always talk about his second shot golf course, and few players out there are better with their second shots and their iron play than Morikawa. You always have to worry about his putting, but maybe if he gets a little bit of help on the greens, maybe the greens are a little bit slower, that could help his chance. But it seems like there are a lot of people out there backing Morikawa this week.
Yeah, we definitely took money at 16. He's holding steady at 14 and seeing support on that. And he's number 3 in money wagered. And he's up there in ticket count too. He's top 5 in that. So not unexpected. I'm used to seeing Morikawa in the 18 to 20-1 range in majors. So, the one thing you have to consider here with Augusta, though, we have a field of 95 golfers after Vijay Singh pulled out, and you can toss out some of the guys at the end and really reduce it down. So you got about half as many as you see in the other majors, and that's why you're going to see some shorter prices on the guys at the top.
And that's one of the things too that I love to play, certainly in the U.S. Open and the Open Championship. I love to put together a bunch of miscut parlays. And I think I was talking with you before we got going here about so much love for Oberg, and his form really hasn't indicated it. Like, he's plus 300 to miss the cut. Justin Thomas, a guy who has not played well here and he's struggled on the greens lately, he's plus 360 to miss the cut. So if you're right, but again, the problem is you get all the past champions, you get the amateurs, you get a lot of guys in here who are just they're not going to make the cut. So really, if you're looking at 50 in ties and they're 95, and your 45 players are going to miss the cut, really they're probably only about 25 to 30 guys that you're really in the group of missing the cut here. But one guy that is not used to missing cuts, and he hasn't this year, but he's been a little bit injured, and his form is not great, is the guy who won 2 majors last year in Xander Schauffele. He's had a couple of near misses here at Augusta, coming off of a T12 at the Valspar, which is his best finish of the year. Not a lot of buzz about him entering. Is this going to be a situation where he's kind of gone and forgotten because he hasn't been great this year because of the injuries, and he's going to show up on the second weekend in April in Augusta and he's just going to spring to life? Or is there a reason where do you think we should be worried about him?
Well, nothing surprised me with Xander, especially what I've seen over the years of it. And I've been trying to, going back weekly into this week too, trying to find that range where we can get some support, because he missed enough time due to injury and a rib injury at that people have shied away from him. So I'm out to 25 to 1, and I've finally seen some support at 25 to 1 on him. But with him, I lean to the no aspect of him performing well, just because I haven't seen too much, threatening. Like you mentioned, he finished 12th last time out, but not enough to really threaten a win. And that's the Xander we saw last year winning the 2 majors, was getting through and breaking through with the wins. So I haven't seen enough of that, and I think he might need a little bit more time through this rib injury to get back to that status. But I keep trying to raise him to get some interest on him, and it's hard to come by these days.
Any interest on Jordan Spieth here? A guy who's had a ton of success here, but again, another guy who was injured and really went through it the last couple of years ago. He's missed the cut here recently. Played a little bit better last week, but was kind of done in by the really brutal winds that they were facing down in San Antonio. I'm not interested in Spieth this week. Are you seeing any interest at all on him?
We do. He's one of our liabilities, and
Really?
He always is at Augusta, just because of what people saw early in his career there, and they just don't forget that. If you did something for me 10 years ago, I think you still can do it. But I'm with you. I personally don't like it, because what I've seen out of Jordan Spieth is not putting 4 rounds together. He'll do something to falter to take him out of contention in one of those rounds. He's just not being consistent in maintaining it. And even though he's going to a place he's had some success, I don't trust his game right now. So we're still sitting at 40 to 1. We took right around a $2,000 wager on him at 40 to 1, got to 35. Now I'm back to 40. So when you're talking about a guy like Jordan Spieth at 40 to 1, he was 20 or even less a few years back. So 40 to 1's telling on what his power rating is going into this week.
We mentioned a couple of the live guys earlier, and someone who we didn't mention, who I seemingly blindly bet him top 10, top 20 every year in Augusta. People talk about, you mentioned the Jordan Spieth fans, they kind of bet him blindly because of what he's done here, is Cam Smith. 4 top 10s his last 5 years. He's out to 60 to 1 or so to win this thing, but you can still get a decent price on a top 10 or a top 20. Like, he's not the player that he once was in recent, but he's a guy who's played really well here. Was tied for 6th last year, didn't come in great. Runner up in that Fall Masters, but he has played this course very well. I mean, is there a chance you could see him at least on the periphery, and maybe one of those top 10s, top 20s might be worth the play with him?
Well, that's the way that I would approach it with him, is something like that about a top 20, because I don't think a win is in the cards. And a lot to do with Cam Smith, and this goes along with Dustin Johnson on Live 2. Those 2 guys look like they lost motivation by getting those big paychecks. And they're not performing week in and week out. And just last week on Live, they were each around 30 to 35 to 1. And in those type of 54 golfer fields, that's a high price in relation to the guys at the top. So it looks like a motivation perspective to me. And I don't know if you can just recapture that. So I don't expect either of those guys to threaten a win. But if you had to play them on a positive note, you might want to look for like top 20, top 30.
All right. On the guys that you do like, run us down your card and some of the guys that we maybe haven't mentioned yet.
Okay, well, I'm on Justin Thomas. I know you mentioned him in a negative way, but I do like the way that he started out this season. He's come close, and I think he's got the pedigree. And I remember, just a couple years ago seeing him 20 to 1 range, and that's where he is now, 20 to 25, and I found him over 30. So I just thought that if he can put himself in contention on Sunday, he's got enough pedigree that he can crack through. And then there's a slew of golfers in the 40 to 50 to 1 range. Shane Lowry, Russell Henley, those two, I've been using those two in matchups on a weekly basis, and they've been performing near the top, and they look like they're ready to crack through. So they definitely have the ability to put themselves right there on Sunday. Robert McIntyre's, I just added him to my portfolio today at 65 to 1. A lefty, which fits his course, kind of like Akshay Bhatia. He's another one. You look for some lefties that are in good form for the fade here. But there's a bunch of golfers in the 40 to 50 to 1 range, which I think presents some value in relation to some of the guys at the top that are so short.
And it's an interesting way to look at it, because normally you don't get the long shot winner here, but we kind of just sat here and shot arrows at a bunch of guys at the top, who are top of the odds boards, and in Scottie and Oberg and Xander and some other guys. So it might be one of those years where you're sitting there on Sunday. I kind of remember sitting there the year Danny Willett won. I'm like, where the hell did this guy come? Like Danny Willett is really going to win the Masters. It was like unbelievable. Bubba was, I think, long one year as well when he won. So you don't typically get him, but maybe we just with the way some of these favorites have come in into the tournament, it might open itself up for a little bit of a long shot winner. The funny thing too, Jeff, is I actually have a 31 to 1 in pocket on JT as well. And you hit the nail on the head with him. Like, just being able to be in contention is the thing with him, because outside of the fall 2020 Masters, only once he's broken par in the first round. So he's kind of like played himself out of the tournament after the first round. And that's been the problem. You don't need to go out and shoot 67 or 68 on Thursday. Just go out, shoot 70, 71, just be right there, be right in the mix. Because as much as we like to say, oh, if you're within however many shots on Sunday, this is really not a chaser's course come to the weekend. You really need to be within a shot or two on that Sunday or to have a chance to win, because very rarely do we see a guy come back from 3-4 shots down on that final round.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a stat where you need to be inside the top 10 after the first round. The only one that's won it outside of it in the last 20 years is Tiger. So you really need to start out well enough to be, threatening, because there's pedigree at the top in this tournament, like we mentioned, the smaller field, and it's hard to chase from behind the quality golfers that do start out well. So you need to get off to a relatively solid start.
Well, we appreciate you getting our week off to a solid start, and the handicapping prep and some good advice and some good tips. Make sure you follow Jeff on Twitter with the at Golf Odds. Good follow, and best of luck to you this weekend, my friend.
All right, thanks.
As promised, Sammy P and Will Hill are now here to join us in the gambling group chat. We're 3 wide this week as Jeff is enjoying frozen drinks with umbrellas somewhere on the Caribbean coast or the Gulf of Mexico or wherever the heck he might be. I think he's somewhere near Cancun, I think he said. But I mentioned it off the top of the show. It was a dramatic game. I don't know if it was a great game or an exciting game, but it was certainly dramatic with the way the game wound up unfolding. Florida beating Houston 65-63 to get to cover the number, win the NCAA championship, and send a lot of nice Houston futures packing and cashing a lot of nice Florida futures, by the way, for a lot of people. Will, I'll start with you, because you had an interesting take on this that I heard that you were kicking around before about Sharp and the end of the game. Just like, what if he just grabs the ball, right? Force the ref to make a call?
Yeah, I thought once he went up in the air, he had 2 options: either continue and just hope that the Florida defender, I forgot who it was, top of my head, was off balance enough, or maybe you get a whistle there. The whistle was sporadic, to say kind of all over the place. They were calling nothing, then they were calling everything. So
total 180 from the first half, which
total
really
180
service to the players.
So draw the contact and get 3 free throws, or just go back to the ball and try to continue your dribble. And you know what? Maybe he makes the call, maybe he doesn't. If he makes the call and it's a turnover, okay, you still got a decent amount of time to foul. Instead, he lets the ball go. And again, this is blink of an eye decisions. I understand why he did what he did. And this is complete second guessing. I admit all that. But to let the ball go and just box out like he's almost like on the special teams in football, letting a punt roll. The clock is just ticking, and by the time anyone touched it, the game was basically over. So I'm sure he's going to replay that sequence for the rest of his life. I feel bad. I mean, these kids that lose these games, I do feel bad. And I felt bad for Samson. It felt like it was their time, it was their year, but you wonder, Sammy, if he could have done it differently, if he would have chosen a different route.
Oof. I thought the Final Four was an A- in terms of excitement. We watched every game till the very end. A lot of them were very entertaining. A lot of the three, I guess. But that's an F finish. How do you not get a shot up? And I didn't have any skin in the game. I want to apologize, Bear, to all your audience that had Duke futures. It's my fault that they blew that lead. It's my fault that they're up 6, 57 to go, and the ball. My fault. My bad.
It is.
I have 3 numbers for you. Florida had the lead in the game for 1 minute and 3 seconds. 1 minute and 3. Houston didn't get a shot up in the final minute 20, which included 4 straight turnovers. And how about Florida? The Gators finished the season 29-11 ATS. That is 73% and the best national championship ATS run in the last 30 years. I brought numbers. I didn't want to bring opinions because I didn't have any for Monday.
and more numbers. Yeah, the second half deficit is 6 against UConn. Done game over against Texas Tech. They're trailing by, what was it, 8 or 9? Trailed by 8 at halftime against Florida, against Auburn rather. Trailed by 12 in the second half last night, and came back and won, which was really funny because I sent a text to you guys, Will, that when Houston was up 6 in the second half, and they had a couple of chances to get it back to 8 or 9 or even 10, and they couldn't. I said it feels a heck of a lot like the UConn game. Did either of you jump in and take some Florida at plus money, because they certainly got up to a nice plus price, I think, when it got to 10.
I think it was about 5-1. I didn't do it. The only bet I had yesterday, I made one bet. It was Condon over 7.5 points. After he had 1 point on Saturday, and everybody said he sucked. The number went down to 7.5. We bet that over, but that was it. I didn't get involved side or total. I hate admitting that on a betting show, but I mean, the game literally came down to the final minute, so I didn't have an edge.
I thought it was a total coin flip game. I did jump in, and sometimes the way you time these things can go for or against you. I think it was like plus 420 on the money line. I went, I want to have something to root for. I didn't have much on it, so I jump in, and it immediately before I can get my bet in, it was like plus 198. So I did get a little plus 198, and then once the game got even, I was like, I'll just take a little Houston plus 1.5 and go for a middle. Almost got home, but I was able to kind of risk free roll there. And I did give out on a couple of the shows. Clayton under points combined parlayed with over assists. I thought he was going to be more of a passer. I thought Samson and Houston, that defense, there 2 things. Their scheme and their personnel could say, hey, you know what? Anybody but Clayton's going to beat us. And that was kind of the case. So, man, Houston, they got the game in their style. If you were going to tell them before the game, hey, it's going to be 65-63, you probably like your chances pretty well if you're Houston. It didn't play out again. Feel bad for Houston. And what a 180. From the high of Saturday night, beating Duke. What a comeback. What a win. Oh, my God. We're going to the national championship. All-time win of a lifetime. And then less than 48 hours later, not only are you eliminated, but to lose like that, it's just, man, the emotional swings in these things is tough.
I couldn't believe that unfolded the way that it did on Saturday. And then the same thing happened to Houston, only on the inverse 2 days later. I mean, what are the odds on that? I'm sure some sportsbook would boost it for you to maybe 7-1 when the true price should be about 50. I mean, for Houston to crawl back down 6 on Saturday in the final minute and then give it away they did 2 days later, you just don't see that.
No, and then for last night to have a double-digit lead in the second half with that defense and turn the ball over on 4 straight possessions down the stretch. It was rough. It was rough, but
not to rub salt in the wound, Bear, but this is a perfect example. You had Auburn 30-1. I don't know what you had Houston at.
18
to 1. Great bets don't always win. Those are great bets. And just sometimes, you know what, you take a shot at a number, and sometimes it gets home, sometimes it doesn't, and makes it sweeter when they do. I don't know. Do you guys have any intel on who's going to be playing on what team next year to sit here and try to look at the odds that are already up for next year? Unless you have some sort of intel of, you know, this kid's going this place, it's really difficult to forecast this stuff going forward.
The only rumor that I've heard out there, and again, maybe I missed it, or maybe something's was a few days. I had heard a rumbling about Braden Smith going into the portal and potentially winding up at Kentucky. I had heard that rumor, but I haven't seen anything to make me believe that it's actually that has happened or will happen. Especially, I think, since Kentucky's added some people since then. But yeah, I've heard Braden Smith's name mentioned in the portal with Kentucky, and just being a Miami guy, I know that the Canes are completely overhauling their team. So
might be a good idea after last year.
You think? And they're gonna be this year's Michigan. Go from 3-18 in the Big Ten to the Sweet 16.
Working, by the way, Bear, I'm working on my new system for next year's tournament. It's very foolproof at this point. Here it is. The last 3 years. You just start watching basketball on March 1st and pick the hottest team. That's all you do now. UConn, Florida. Bang, bang, bang.
And money line the favorites. What can go wrong? Yeah, one upset from the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, and championship game. So I'm sure it'll happen again next year. But anyway, enough of the past, and now we'll actually spin forward to the future. And this week with the Masters, kick some stuff around with Jeff Sherman, and I'll start with where I started with him. It seems like you've got Scheffler here at the top of the odds boards, 4-1, 9-2, depending on where you look. Hasn't won yet. A couple of top 3 finishes. It's always going to come down to the putter here with him, but he's looking for 3 wins in 5 years. Looking to go back to back here. So, thoughts on Scheffler? Anybody have any skin in the game here with Scheffler, Sammy?
I came into this week without any Scheffler action. I'm not going to lie. So I came in with Oberg at about 20. I bet that during round 3 of the Genesis. I came in with Justin Thomas at 30, Hovland at 50, and Batia at 70. Sherman may have sent me his list of golfers a couple weeks ago, by the way. You always respect when a bookmaker has a number off market too. Like when DraftKings has 70 and Sherman's got 50, you pay attention to stuff like that. And the same thing with Jeff Davis at Circa. Here's when I added Scheffler. It was during our show Tuesday morning. We started talking about Scheffler's Masters dinner menu. Holy cow, is he one of us, man? Have you seen the menu?
Cowboy ribeye, right?
Oh my God, he's got 3 appetizers.
Firecracker shrimp.
The Texas chili, the cowboy ribeye, or the blackened redfish, 4 sides, and a cookie skillet with ice cream on it. Man. He's trying to fatten everybody up, Bear. So I saw that and said, you know what? I know the wise guys never want to bet a golfer at plus 450. I understand it. They said the same thing last year, and he won the Masters by 4 shots. So I did add a little Scheffler insurance, as I call it.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea. And you use the word insurance. I think even if you're someone who likes to sprinkle or take a unit or two and spread it and sprinkle on 4 or 5 different guys, having Scheffler in your back pocket as a just in case I can get some of my money back, just in case he wins, not a bad idea. Barry, you mentioned it, the putter. Putted pretty well last week at Houston, or last time out at Houston, finished second. I think we saw last year where he putted well at Houston, and that carried over to the Masters. If he plays his A game, forget it. We can all go home. He's going to win. If he plays his B+ game, probably still going to win. The question is, does the B-, does the C+ game, is that good enough to get home? And we'll see. So look, if you told me you bet someone Scheffler at 4-1, that not a bad idea. Even the strategy of, I'm going to wait live and hope he doesn't play well and get a better number. They don't give you the number you think you're going to get, the number you should get. The books are onto you. The books are onto this strategy. So if you like it, I don't think you should get too cute. Just take it before the tournament and kind of go that route. And wouldn't this be 3 and 4 years for Scheffler?
3 and 4. Yeah, my math was wrong.
3 and 4. Okay, yeah, which has only been done once, I believe, and not something even Tiger did.
No. And you're right, Will, because I remember a few years ago, it kind of changed. That like Rahm won after a terrible start. and you got a much better number on him after the first couple of holes than you did pre-tournament, because he went off late as well. So he was really, and then he wound up playing great and winning. But yeah, more often than not, you're not really getting the price that you think you would get. Sammy, I know you are very high on Oberg this week. Does it concern you at all, the recent string of missed cuts and the fact that he really hasn't played that well since the time that you bet him?
I just bet price. I don't care about recent form. I don't care about things like that. I really don't. Maybe I should, but there's a lot of golf lingo that people say to sound smart, and I think a lot of it's bullshit.
Agreed.
I wasn't going to bet Oberg at 12-1, but now that he's floated out to 20, I see a 22 if you get a little creative. Yeah, I'd bet 22. But it's funny, a guy misses a cut last weekend and doesn't exert himself Saturday or Sunday. He also played extremely well at this course in Augusta last year, but we're like, well, he didn't make the cut last week. I can't bet him. But the price is quite literally as good as it's been on Oberg in 6 months. So if he can channel it and come in fresh, again, didn't play Saturday, didn't play Sunday, played really well at Augusta last year, and you get the best number you've been able to get in a very long time, that's when it's time to strike. Generally, you don't want to bet a guy at 12 when he just won the tournament last week. You want to bet him when people aren't talking about him. And that's what you have with Oberg. It's all about the number. That's it.
Yeah, you are talking about Oberg, and really, I think, Bear, the same kind of principles can apply to somebody like Scheffler, a guy I think you've bet in the past and been successful betting in the past, where not playing great, dealing with an oblique, but does the fact that he's had a habit here of winning majors, is that something where he snaps out of it? Do you think that sort of logic applies to Scheffler here? I do. It's
funny. Jeff Sherman did not think so. He was on the leaning to fade Scheffler this week, but I kind of agree with Sammy's mentality as well. Like it's a lot of times you get these like forgotten numbers, the forgotten players, these prices that just drift because the narrative is, oh, he's hurt, he missed the cut, he isn't playing well. And then it was a couple of years ago when the live golfers, the live guy in Brooks drifted into like the 30s, I think, and he was right there and nearly won the thing. So a lot of time there is a little bit of a zig when everyone zags, and vice versa, especially in golf, because the numbers, I think, do matter. And that's one guy that I'm worried about this week, at least from the win market, is Colin Morikawa. Obviously, his game fits. I said with one of the nice golf terms, Sammy, like it's a second shot golf course, and Morikawa is certainly a great iron player with his second shots, so the course should fit him. But I worry he's taken a lot of play as numbers come down. Like, I don't know if I'd bet him to win now, but I think he's someone you're probably better off playing in the top 10, top 20 type market.
I think it's important to understand that you should scatter your portfolio with more than just outrights. You're only going to win one of those. And I know guys that will come in, they'll make 8 bets, they'll all be in the outright market, and they'll win none of them and be out 8 units or 4 units or whatever. And they're always frustrated. And I tell people, look, you can attack head-to-heads maybe more than anything else, because it's easier to beat one golfer than it is to beat everybody else. But the top 10s and the top 20s with books that let you parlay. So I'll give you an example. And I'm not parlay guy until we get to golf, and we can do weird stuff like this. So obviously I'm high on Oberg because of the price. He's plus 170 to go top 10 at Augusta. And I can parlay that with the Boston Celtics to win the East. 2-teamer. Oberg top 10, Celtics East. It's 370. Not bad, right? Not bad at all. And then, let's see. Let me make another one, and let me go to AL Pennant. And I believe we all like the Texas Rangers, don't we? To some extent. So an Oberg top 10 with a Celtics East and a Rangers pennant is 33-1. That's how I like to bet golf, Bear. By throwing things with other things that are likely to happen, and you see what happens. I don't need to tell you that. I mean, you're always, when you go to a good state, you're driving out of your way to parlay stuff at the White Castle. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, I just took a top 10 bet, wheeled it with a favorite to win the East and one of the best teams in the American League. That has a really good chance of putting us in a good spot down the road.
Plus, you get action from now till October if things go right, which people like, having the action, having something to root for. That the bang for their buck in terms of entertainment. Let's face it, probably a good portion of our audience. Yeah, everyone wants to win money, but there's an entertainment aspect of this too, where if you make that bet, you're you got something to sweat through June in the playoffs, and then again, through the baseball season until the end of October, pretty much.
Either of you, any thoughts on Rory?
No, thank you.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. He's a guy who I said to Jeff as well earlier that I just think there are a lot of times where he loses a tournament when he puts too much pressure on himself when he drives down Magnolia Lane. So, any other bets here, players, guys that you're looking at? Maybe you talk about parlaying to making parlay things in golf. Like I put together a list of guys here that you could maybe take a look at, maybe parlaying a couple of them to miss the cut. Remember, the cut is top 50 in ties. Justin Thomas is plus 360. Oberg is plus 300. If you're not a believer in Sammy, Spieth is plus 255. Sung Jae Im is plus 125. Billy Horschel plus 125. Sam Burns plus 125. Christian Bezuidenhout is plus 105. Chris Kirk is plus 100. Even money, however you want to phrase it. Like these are all guys that have either struggled here at Augusta or are not coming in the best of form. That again, parlay maybe some of the guys in top 10, top 20, probably some guys that make miscut. Like I love especially the miscut in majors like the U.S. Open or the Open Championship, where you have those massive fields and you can get some dramatic weather swings, and they're bigger, but got to be a little bit more judicious here with the make the miss, being that you're only going to get about 45 players to miss the cut, and really 20 of them aren't going to make it coming in.
I thought you were actually just building a parlay on the fly. I was waiting for the price. You were just throwing out individual.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out individual names. I haven't thrown it
I
in.
thought you were parlaying all those guys to miss. I'm like, good Lord, this is going to be 200 to 1.
Nah, maybe we'll go a little by threes there as well with a couple of those. Because do I think both JT and Oberg are going to miss the cut? No. Do I think one of them could? Maybe. But that's where the fun of it comes in. I remember doing one of these the year that the Open Championship was at Portrush, and everybody loved Rory McIlroy going in, and his number to miss the cut was ridiculous, and he wanted missing the cut because he plays terrible on Thursday, and then Friday he made a rush and nearly made it. But yeah, you can make some hay, some of these miss cuts. So if we don't have any other golf talk here, what's going on in the NBA? We hop on the Zoom here, and Will, you're breaking down that the Nuggets, who won an NBA championship a couple of years ago, are in the mix and making another playoff run, and they fired their head coach.
Very strange, isn't it? You figure something's going on behind the scenes, not getting along with somebody. I mean, you never know, just completely speculation. And Jokic doesn't say too much. It seems to be, he just plays basketball, he puts up his numbers, and he moves on. But that's the timing of this is very strange. Not only heading into the playoffs, you figure, all right, who do you replace him with? I would imagine
too. Like it's a weird thing.
Yeah, it really is. It feels like something behind the scenes is going on, but man, it felt like they were not that long ago holding up the trophy, winning the championship. And the reason is because it wasn't that long ago. It was less than 2 years. Last year, they got bit against Minnesota in a strange Game 7 where they were up, 18-20 at home in the second half, stopped scoring. They're in the mix this year. They could be either anywhere from like a 2 or 3 seed to, an 8 seed and miss the playoffs, which it's a jumbled West, Sammy, but really shocking news. Did not see that one coming whatsoever.
It shocked me because I had no idea. I had no idea that it happened. And this is, of course, on the heels of a lesser team, the Grizzlies, getting rid of their head coach in the last week or so. So I don't know if it's just the Thunder are doing this to teams and making them panic, or they see LeBron and Luka and decide we need a new coach. I don't know what it is. Let me float this question at the two of you, because you guys are numbers guys. If I gave you 100 right now and said you could have the Lakers at 7, the Warriors at 7, or the Nuggets at 8, let's just keep the numbers relatively close. They're all right around like 7, 8 to 1. Who are you taking? LA, Golden State, or Denver to win the West?
I'd probably go Golden State, but I think those odds, I think you could throw a blanket over 3 teams. I think man, I don't love Denver's depth, but they do have Jokic.
Murray, who knows if we're going to get anything out of Murray as well? If they're in
Yeah.
a real series in the first round and don't have him,
Then there probably is no second series for them if that's the case. I'd probably go Golden State just because I get Curry and Butler and Kerr, but it's very close. It's a great question.
I asked that question to a bookmaker
I would
the other
take the
day.
Lakers. I would take those 2 dudes. I don't care about the age. I don't care about the defense. Those 2 dudes could score and beat anybody.
And you know what's wild? I think those are both valid answers. I lean to the Warriors side myself. I asked the bookmaker that the other day, and his response was, keep the 100 and bet it on the Thunder. And I said, okay.
That wasn't the you didn't give us that.
I know. Well, you could always audible, Bear. It is your show last time I checked.
No.
But I like Golden State because I like Jimmy and Draymond on the defensive end. That's the only reason. I think they're going to get more stops than the other 2 teams. But I have never heard such confidence. And Oklahoma City's a relatively young team. I mean, look at their top 6 guys. That's a young team. They have older pieces, but that's a young team. I have never heard such a quick crown of a team in such a loaded league. Now, the West is pretty good from about 1 to 5, 1 to 6. I hear a lot of people I really respect saying, yep, the Thunder are that good. And I don't know that I'm there yet, but a lot of others are.
That's where I was going to get with the next question. Like, is this like a formality in the West that it's going to be OKC? And you don't seem to think so. Will you think in the end it is Oklahoma City?
I do think it's OKC, but I admit whatever happens, we will play the results with this stuff and say, like, if it's OKC coming out of the West, well, we should have seen it coming. They killed everybody all year. They're going to win 67 games or something ridiculous, and their net margin, their net rating, all of that stuff, their numbers of a dominant team were there. We just didn't believe it because they're new, and we have to see it to believe it sometimes. And then on the other hand, if they get upset, we're going to say the same. Oh, we should have seen it coming. They're too young. They're unproven. They don't have the second and third stars to step up. So I tend to lean towards A, where they maybe come out of the West without even playing a game 7. I do think they're really good. That's a home court that is loud. That home court matters. SGA is a legitimately great player. But big picture, I think we're in for a really good playoff. I think the playoffs are going to be really fun, really balanced. If you're one that wants to watch it, especially in the West where these teams are really evenly matched, you're going to be up till about 2 a.m. watching some of this stuff because these games tip off like 11 o'clock at night, quarter of 11. It's crazy sometimes, but I think we're in for a good postseason here soon.
Way past my bedtime. Do we think it's the Celtics again in the East, or are we buying the Cavs? Do we think the Cavs are real? We worried about their late season swoon?
OKC Boston would be very fun. I'm sort of rooting for that. I don't have any financial interest in either of those teams. I've got Golden State at some bigger prices. OKC Boston would be great. I don't know. It's just the way I was raised in the sport that we watched growing up. Every team had to learn how to win by learning how to lose and accepting adversity and growing from that, whether it be the bad boy Pistons or the 90s Bulls or the late 90s Lakers or the whatever. I mean, go back in time. I mean, teams generally don't get to a Larry O'Brien trophy that first go around together. And that's my elephant in the room on Oklahoma City. I mean, they haven't had their hearts broken yet. And that's not exactly like, the systemic path, but it's happened a lot in the last 30 years. Teams learn how to lose, grow together, and then finally get over the hump. I think they're still sort of on step 1 or 2 right now, but I could be way off on this.
If we were ever looking from a small market perspective at an OKC Cleveland finals, if we were on the brink of that, I think David Stern might crawl out of his grave and grab a whistle and start calling some fouls on Cleveland to prevent that from happening.
Oh, that would be funny. What else? Anything going on in baseball you guys want to get out there and talk about?
The Rockies are so bad, Bear.
Yes, they are.
Have you watched any Rockies games this season? They are horrible, and that's with being a top 8 ERA right now. Wait till the pitching explodes this summer at Coors, and wait till they trade anybody with a pulse in June or July. We talked about this last year on the show when the White Sox, they didn't have the best odds to be the worst team, right? It was Oakland coming into the season. And I watched about 2-3 weeks of White Sox games and said, When they start trading these guys, forget it. And Colorado is on its way to the bottom. That's sort of by design. I don't know that you could still bet them to be the worst team, but they're one of the better pitching staffs in the league right now.
I saw some 150 out there the other day, plus 150.
It's going to be minus 300 in 3 months. It could
very easily be that. Yep.
They are pathetic. And the pitching has been good. So when the pitching eventually falls apart, how do they win?
How about the Braves 1-8 with the Phillies and Wheeler coming to town? Wheeler on the mound on a Tuesday night. Look, all these teams make the playoffs now, or more teams than in the past. So it's not a death sentence with all the games that are played and all the teams that make the playoffs. It's not like if you fall to 2-13, you can't dig yourself out of a hole, but you're at least digging a hole that's going to be very hard to dig out of it, especially in terms of winning a division. So 1-8 with Wheeler on the mound. Now they're throwing Sale on the other side, but that's a very interesting early season. You would never think Tuesday, April 8th or 9th or whatever it is. These are must-win games or big games, but these are semi-big games, I would say, when you're already this much behind the 8 ball here.
Well, you just look at the math of it. Assume the Phillies are going to win the East. Maybe it'll be so that leaves Braves, Mets. The Central, probably you're not going to get a wild card. You're probably just going to get the division winner, which will probably be the Cubs. And then in the West right now, you got the Dodgers, but you also got the Padres, Diamondbacks, and Giants who are playing. So that's 5 teams, 3 spots for 5 teams, right?
A couple of really good teams not going to the playoffs.
Yeah. Braves made it last year on the number at 89, and they're going to have to do a lot of work to get to 89. So that's all we got for now. A little bit of everything to whet everybody's appetite. Do it again next week. Thanks again to Sammy and Will. Always a fun, interesting conversation with those two. And thanks to Jeff Sherman, of course, for joining us at the top of the show to kick around the Masters. No Jeff Schwartz this week, so you only get one best bet. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm going to go with my best bet, Sam Burns, to miss the cut in the Masters at plus 125. He's a guy in 3 Masters appearances. He's missed the cut twice. His form in Florida and since they've moved from Hawaii and the West Coast has not been good. Typically, not a ton of success in majors either. Someone who we thought that was on the cusp of actually breaking through and being one of the better players on tour. But he certainly has struggled lately on tour. He has struggled at Augusta. So I'm going to go with Sam Burns at a nice little plus price to miss the cut. As I was talking with Jeff Sherman, it's always sometimes it's hard to come up with a lot of these miss the cut props in the Masters because the field size is so small and we're dealing with really a bunch of guys who aren't going to make the cut. So you got to thread the needle a little bit, but I feel pretty good about that one. So. Thanks again to all of you for listening and downloading wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, our YouTube channel. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. Our feedback. Thankfully, Jeff Schwartz will be back next week, so I don't have to man this show down myself. You don't get tired of me rambling on in an incoherent fashion for so long. But we hope Jeff enjoyed his vacation. He certainly earned it. Lord knows I'll be taking one soon enough again as is. But thanks again to everybody for joining us, you the listener as well. And remember, the less you bet, the more you lose when you win.